Hi everyone, my name is Sarah and today I'm going to be teaching you a little bit about how to use Etoys. If you are not on an EXO, because Etoys does come on all of the EXOs, you can download Etoys from the Squeakland website depending on if you have a Windows or a Mac computer. Today I'm going to be using a Windows computer, but from my understanding Etoys is pretty much the same on Windows and Macs. So as soon as you open the Etoys application, this is the home screen that kind of shows up right here. We have these three big bubbles. We have Gallery of Projects, Make a Project, and Tutorials and Demos. Today we're going to be focusing on making a project because that's kind of what Etoys is all about, making our own projects. But if you're curious about looking at other people's projects, you can look at Gallery of Projects. And if you want to learn more about Etoys, not from my personal screencasts, you can also check out the Tutorials and Demos bubble. So for now, if you could click on the Make a Project bubble, that would be fantastic. So here we have a blank screen that kind of comes up. This is what happens when you're about to make your own project. Just to show you a little bit about the different tools up here. Here we have the help button, which can give you some help on some basic things for Etoys, but our screencasts are going to be covering most of these tools over the next couple of videos. If you have any additional questions, I would obviously encourage you to check out these quick guides. Here it says unnamed, and I would encourage you here to name your own project. So I'm going to name mine Sarah's project and hit enter right there. This is a back and a forward button, just kind of like what you would use on an internet browser, which is helpful if you're working on multiple projects at the same time. But today we're not really going to be doing that, so these buttons are not necessarily helpful. Up here we have our sketch tool, which is going to help us make our own paintings, and we're going to come back to that sketch tool later on in this video. We have a supply box, which if you click on it, all of these fantastic little things come up, and we're going to explore a lot of these later on in this video as well. Here we have an option to change your language. Obviously, I'm speaking in English, but if you would prefer a different language, there are several options right here. This button is used to toggle using your full screen. Today I'm going to be keeping mine in full screen because it's the best way to show how to use everything in this video. All right, here is opening another project tool, and here is saving our own project. Now we already did name our project, but so we're good for now, but we're going to come back and save our project in a little bit, and this is quitting Etoys. All right, so first we're going to focus on the supply box. I'm actually gonna get rid of this help button. All right, so if we click on our supply box, I'm just going to show you all a little bit of the different fantastic tools that are available in this box. So first we have obviously our little shapes, little rectangle, we have an ellipse, and we have a little star over here. Now, basically all I did was click on the object once and drag it out of the supply box, and these objects, you can move them all over your screen like this. This seems pretty boring now, but it's definitely important that we get a good handle of what's in our supply box. As our videos get more complicated, it's definitely important that we have a good control over our supply box. So another really important thing in our supply box is called a book, and you can make your own little book here. Right now it only has one page in it, but if you show the controls using this button, you can add more pages using the plus sign and delete them using the minus sign. So we'll add a couple of pages right here. And if we go back, we can actually put objects inside of our book. So let's put the rectangle, the circle here on page 3. And for example, we could put the star on page 2. So now we can hide the controls so that we're not adding or deleting more pages, but we can flip through our book using our arrows right here. And as we did, we put the star on page 2, and we put the rectangle and the ellipse on page 3. So that's just kind of a very basic idea of how to make a book. We will be exploring books later in future episodes where I'll show you how to change the color of your book, how to do more difficult controls of your book. But this is our basics for today. We also have a text tool. We can put text either outside or inside the book. We'll keep ours outside today. You can drag it right out of the supply box just like I did, and if you double click, the text will turn green, and that means you can type whatever you want. So, hello, my name is Sarah. When I'm done with that, you can click outside the text tool, and there you have your text right there. All right, so some other very interesting things we can do today would be exploring this object catalog. So if you drag the object catalog out of the supply box, you can see that there are different other things that are going to come out. You have this fancy little curve, which is just another object. We can put that inside the book as well. We have a rounded rectangle. Here, let's go put some stuff on another page. We have regular rectangle, ellipse, just like we had earlier. We have a joystick, which right now doesn't do a lot except kind of look pretty, but later in future screencasts we're going to explore joysticks a little bit more, in addition to these sliders, which are very helpful for controlling objects. All right, we also have something called particles, which if we drag out here, if it'll load for me. Oh, okay. Yeah, we have some different particles that can kind of come up like this. We have, oh, we already used the curve, sorry. We have a play field, which kind of is another place where we can put more objects in. This one's kind of big, so yep. All right, we have, if you go to connectors, we've got different arrows that come up. We have little games. You can pull out a game of chess right there. I'm not particularly good at chess, so this might not be a good idea, but maybe for other people. We have free cell, cross stick, lots of other fun games. Graphics, again, lots of shapes that come up. We have a lasso tool, which I'll actually show you all how to use. So basically, a lasso tool is very helpful if you want to put objects together in the same field, so that instead of, for example, picking up this green circle and the blue rectangle as two separate objects, we can use our lasso tool to combine them into just one object. So, as you can see here, the lasso tool will allow me to use my cursor to draw an outline outside of these two objects, right like that. And now we can move the objects as a unit instead of having to move them separately. So another tool, you can also find the lasso tool in the supply box itself right here. The grab patch does basically the exact same thing as the lasso tool, except it automatically makes a rectangular shape outside of your two objects, whereas the lasso tool, you get to use your actual cursor like I did earlier, and you can draw the outline of the shapes. So that helps if your shapes are irregular, which is what happened with the circle next to the rectangle. So there's your idea of kind of how that works. Also in here we have multimedia, we have the book, which I showed you, your camera, which is if your computer is connected to a webcam. We've got a sound recorder right here where we can, you know, record, stop, play, whatever, our own sounds. We have a little piano keyboard that comes up. You know, you can kind of push those around. Just for fun, we've got the fun moving eyes right here. I love these. You can move your cursor and the little pupil will move too. Speech bubbles, bouncing atoms. We've got a clock. I love the clock. All right. And we've got graphing. We have a number line, an XY plane. This is really useful for a lot of school teachers or students too. We have Scratch, which is another very similar tool to Etoys, programming wise. Scripting, all of these tools will become more important in future screencasts where I'm going to show you all how to make scripts and move objects around in different ways. And as far as tools go, we have Dr. Geo, which is really good for geometry and things like that. So basically, we've explored most things in the supply box at this moment. Oh, another thing we should keep in mind is our trash can, and this is a perfect transition actually, because I want to clear up my screen so that we can focus more on sketches, which is going to happen in the latter half of this video. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag these objects all into my trash can because I want to kind of clear up some space. We don't have to, you know, put all of them in here, but we can just move the majority of them into the trash can. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to hold down your mouse over top any object, drag it over the trash can until it opens its lid. There you go. So you can put big objects and little objects in the trash can, which is really cool. Oh, this button here just deletes the object catalog for you, so that's nice. Okay, so I'm going to put my whole book in the trash can, and we are going to, this is probably enough space. So now to use the sketch tool, what we're going to do is basically the sketch tool is used to make your own objects. So say you go to the supply box or the object catalog within the supply box, and you see that you have a polygon, you have an ellipse, a star, a rectangle, you've got a couple more circles and other objects in here, but you just really want to kind of draw your own object so that you can use it in your own project. So that's where the sketch tool is going to come into play. So I'm going to click on the sketch tool, and I know this is kind of difficult to see, but basically the sketch tool, you can draw your own objects with the paintbrush, which is this tool right here, but you can only draw within this little field of vision. So I'll give you a little example. So right now I have the color blue, but I can change it to whatever color I want by going over and moving my mouse over this little pink and black area. So say I really want to draw in orange, which I do. Click orange. All right, so say I'm coloring. Oh, okay, so right here is the edge of the line where the sketch tool, cuts off. As you can see, I'm scribbling everywhere, but there comes a certain point where it's going to cut off. All right, so that's just to show you that there's only a very select amount of area where your sketch can happen. You can change your color, I already showed you here, and you can change the size of your pen by here. You can make your pen really big, like that, or you can make it really small like this for very precise things. All right, now I'm actually going to erase what I did so that I can actually draw something nice. You can also, I clicked on the pencil right there. Oops. I clicked on the pencil right there, and that's the eraser. And then you can also change the size of the eraser, just like you did with the pen. All right, so there you go. My work is erased. Now I'm going to pick a pen. And if you are fortunate enough to have a stylus on your computer, which I actually do right now since I'm using a tablet, you can make your drawings way more precise. So I'm going to draw a little flower. And this is going to be the object that we use today. Okay, to use your paint bucket, basically you can fill in these white spaces that I have with my flower with another color. So I really like that orange color. Oops, and if you're not careful, that's exactly what will happen right there, where you will click on the outline and it will turn the whole color that. So if you undo it, there you go. It's just because my flower is really tiny. It's kind of hard to get in between here. So, but you get the idea. Oops. So undoing does exactly that. It undoes the project, and I'll go back to my paint tool. Get a green stem on that. I really like that color, actually. All right, so I'm going to, if you want to keep your project, so save it, you can click keep. If you want to clear the whole board and start over, you can click clear. Sorry, having a little bit of trouble. And if you want to delete the project, you hit toss. So I'm going to keep my project. So now I have this little flower that I drew right here. And just like any of the other objects that we dealt with earlier, I can move it anywhere around my screen just like this. So let's say I actually want to I want to add more to my project. So I want to, add a sun or something like that. So I can go back to the sketch tool and I can draw a sun right here. All right, I'm going to color that in and I'm going to hit keep. Okay, so here we go. We have our sun. We can move that around. We can move it, so that the sun is next to the flower over here, yada, yada. So let's say in the future, you want to add something to your sun, and you want your sun's rays to be moving individually. You actually have to draw the rays separately from the sun. So basically, this is a concept called drawing in layers, which we're actually going to talk more about in my next screencast, where we're going to go more into detail about the sketch tool. But I just want to leave you all with this thought as I wrap up my screencast, which is that if you want your object to have separate moving parts, you have to draw each of those moving parts as separate entities with your paint tool or your sketch tool. So for right now, that's the end of this video. I hope you all learned a lot about the supply box and you started to learn more about sketches, and I'm going to move on to our next video. So catch you on the flip side.